If I could only have one bottle of proper booze behind this bar, I'd pick this, and here's why. Now, since I started my newer style of content on June the 1st this year, the one big repeating question I get all the time is, what bottle of spirit should I start off with? Loosely translated to, what is my favourite spirit that I've got behind me? What's that one bottle that I couldn't live without? Now, the first time I was asked this question, I did ponder on it for a couple of minutes because I hadn't really thought about it before. But once I'd asked myself 3 questions, the answer was very, very easy. And those 3 questions were, I still, from time to time, not too frequently these days, but still love to drink neat spirits. That is a big one for me. When it comes to what I actually probably drink the most of here, simple spirit and mixers, highballs, you know, I wanted something that was incredibly versatile. A lot of you that have been around a long time will know that I love a daiquiri or that style of cocktail, so it had to stand up there. But I think most importantly, if I put my sort of video channel hat on and thought, do you know what, if I'm going to be making loads and loads of cocktails to show you guys, what is that one bottle that I've got behind me that would work across category, would shine through in cocktails, and to a certain extent, make cocktails taste better. So without keeping you in the dark any longer, this is what I decided on. This is Stella. You frequent flyers around these parts will know exactly my thoughts on this. But in truth, I'd never really contemplated it across category. I know it works across category, but I hadn't put myself in a position where I thought, if I could only have one, what do I have? This is a blend of 4 different rums, but it goes across category. We have got we've got 3 unaged rums in here from Swaziland, from La Reunion, and from Jamaica. So anyone that sort of knows rum will know that you're going to get bags of flavour from those, even in an unaged rum. But then there is a slight touch of Dominican Republic. So a lighter Spanish style rum, lightly aged column still to sort of round all those flavours up. So let's break down these 3 questions and sort of formulate reasons of why I picked Stella. Now, when it comes to neat sipping, some of you that know me will completely understand this, but for the vast majority of neat sippers that may be watching me for the first time, they will absolutely scoff at that, because typically, someone that loves drinking neat spirits wants heavily aged spirits, but that goes cross category, whether it's whiskey, whether it's rum, even sort of tequila. You know, they want those big barrel notes, that oak aging, or, you know, nuances from other different types of barrels, whether it's sherry, whether it's wine, whether it's muscat, you name it, they love that influence. You also get those sort of Valentines that come out to play. For me, I've never really enjoyed them. There's a few, but even when I was in the rum journey, I did prefer, if I was going for an aged rum, I did prefer younger aged. 4-year-old for me was, you know, the epitome of an aged rum. I was never really taken aback by 12-year-olds, by 15-year-olds. I simply don't get it. For me, I love to taste the distiller's skill set. You know, it is they take their raw materials, they whack it through their stills using their fermentation, their yeast strains, you know, that goes all for all spirits. And then that result that comes off, that is what I call a distiller's skill set. And I think for me, when I come to neat sipping, whether this is on ice, in the freezer, or straight out the bottle on the back of the bar, I just flipping adore it. And when it comes to simple drinks like mixers and highballs, as I previously mentioned, I do fluctuate. 1 minute I'll be drinking something in Coke, whether that's, you know, rum and Coke, whether that's even whiskey and Coke. Sometimes a liqueur and Coke. Amaretto and Coke is pretty damn good, you know. So I do drink a lot of Coke. I love a lot of ginger beer, and typically I would kind of go spiced rum or a sort of darker, young aged rum for ginger beer. But this really does stand up because of those flavours in there. And then I'll sort of go with my fruity stuff, whether it's grapefruit soda or a Paloma, whether it's some of the stuff from Franklin's and Sons, like the pineapple and almond, or the guava and lime, whether it's the more fun and fruity, the new tings that are on the market. Pineapple, so we've got the grapefruit ting, obviously, pineapple ting, tropical ting. This stands up in everything. And I have to say, even when you do grapefruit soda, and typically you're thinking palomas and tequila, this is a very, very good alternative. Now, I think daiquiris, I think that's pretty obvious for a lot of viewers that have been around these parts for a long, long time. I make no bones about it. I do not do moody daiquiris, aged rum daiquiris. I can't think of anything worse that I would rather drink. You know, I'd rather drink a glass of hot tap water on a boiling hot day than drink an ice cold moody daiquiri. I just don't do aged rum daiquiris. It's just me. Personal opinion. I do really love ron cube, that sort of Spanish style of rums in daiquiris. You know, your Cuban, your Dominican Republic, your Puerto Rican, those light column stills. For me, they are the epitome. Okay, so I do drink a lot of those. But Stella is also fantastic. It is a light, clean, crisp rum. It does work in daiquiris superbly well. Just gives you a little bit of extra flavour, but not too much to put me off. The other thing we have to turn our attention to, cocktails in general. Now, I'm just going to touch on rum and tiki cocktails here, for instance, in the first instance, and then we'll broaden this out to other spirit categories, because when it comes to rum cocktails, a lot of you, if you've watched any of my recent videos, whether it's the Jungle Bird, whether it's the Zombie and things like that, you will have seen that I've always added this because I like what this does to those typical rum cocktails. Whether you look at Smuggler's Cove or Beach Bum Berry, they do typically call for aged rums, and in some cases, very highly aged rums. You know, we're not talking about like a gold rum that might have been aged or rested 1 to 2 years. We're talking 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds sometimes in those cocktails. This was a big revelation, in fact, in the Jungle Bird. Instead of using those darker Jamaican style of rums, swapping this into a Jungle Bird completely transformed the cocktail for me. So when it comes to rum cocktails, I think this really does shine through. But where I might have lost a few people is where, you know, those vodka lovers, those gin lovers, those tequila lovers. And as I mentioned with the Paloma a minute ago, if you're making a margarita, yes, obviously it's going to be more of a daiquiri vibe, but as I've just explained, that works exceptionally well. Whether you're trying gin cocktails like the Brambles or the Collins, again, this work makes a fantastic Bramble. You know, and then the Collins, obviously we kind of, so Collins and Ricky's, we can talk about that at the same time, but we're not, with the Collins, we're not too far removed from the Mojito. A Mojito would be technically a Ricky with mint. The whole Ricky thing is lime, Collins is lemon, but you know, you do swap that in for gin in those Collins drinks and it works superbly well. And look, probably the biggest category of cocktails that's coming back at the moment is vodka. Vodka is absolutely smashing it in 2025. Plain vodka, flavoured vodkas, all those sort of cocktails I'm seeing rear up again. Porn Star Martini has never gone away anywhere. You could say the same about the Espresso Martini, but I'm talking all those other sort of tropical disco kind of cocktails that are kind of rearing up again. And this just swaps, obviously to a lot of bartenders, is going to swap in to most vodka cocktails. But if you're talking non-bartenders and you're thinking, well, hang on, the recipe calls for vodka, how can you swap a rum in? Most cocktails are pretty damn versatile. There's a lot of bartenders out there. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of bartenders out there that would say, take a vodka cocktail and swap any other spirit into it and it becomes a better cocktail. Vodka to most people is tasteless. To me, it's not. I love my vodkas. You know, there's different nuances that come out to play here. But my point is, doesn't matter what vodka cocktail that you want to make, this will make an equally good, if not better, sorry Dutch Barn, but if not better version of that cocktail. Sometimes you don't want that flavour, but the question was, if I could only have one bottle, I want my daiquiris, I want my neat sipping, I want my simple highballs. I'm going for something like this. Let's look at the price. Now, granted, this is not the cheapest bottle you're going to have behind the bar. It's not a 15, 18, 20 pound bottle of spirit. So it is a little bit more expensive, but in the same token, it's also not a 40 or 50 pound bottle of spirit. It nicely settles roughly about the high 20s to 30 pounds mark, typically around about the 30 pounds. And I think if you are just having one bottle you know, you're just using one bottle to make all your favourite drinks, I think £30 is an exceptional value for money, because it actually saves you from buying 2 or 3 different other styles of spirit. This became my favourite rum in early 2024, the first time I ever tasted it. But now, you know, a year, 18 months on, this has easily become my favourite spirit behind the bar.